Check, 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 check. I don't know where to put any of my content anymore. I don't know where to post things anymore. This is a Bogetti solo podcast. I kind of do these when I don't have a guest filmed, and there's always plenty of things to talk about. But unfortunately, if you guys really follow me closely, I don't know where to put any content anymore. So I have a main channel, Cooper Bogetti, and then I have a sub-channel that I started, Bogetti Studios, which is the podcast where I tend to talk to notable people in the car industry. And then I started a Bogetti Clips channel that was supposed to be podcast clips, where I cut things out of the podcast, put like a spicy title on them, and, so people don't have to watch a 2-hour podcast for, a 10-minute segment that I find highly interesting. Highly interesting. A lot of podcasts do this. It's not, abnormal. And I started to do that, and it was flowing. It has millions of views. The channel has, almost 30,000 subscribers, which I think is pretty awesome. I think that's a lot of subscribers. The podcast channel is like 70,000 almost. My main channel, 200-ish thousand. But then I fall into this, what do I put where? I did some of the clip style stuff on the main channel where I did like topic videos, which I really enjoy doing. I research a topic, I dig into it, and then I kind of just riff off of it. I don't really write a script or anything. I just like learn as much as possible, make some notes, and then I just kind of like brain dump, I guess you could say, about the topic. And I find that fun, and it's a good outlet because I would do this research, I would learn all these things, and I would do all this stuff, and then I would just squirrel it away and probably forget about it eventually, and then maybe it brought back up in conversation somewhere where somebody's like, hey, those Vortec 4200s, or have you heard about what the IHRA is doing? Some of the videos I've made, some of the topics I've made videos on, and then all of it would come rushing back to me. But this kind of gives me a nice little creative outlet to brain dump into, and I like doing these kind of things. And it also is a good outlet for content. I mean, it's mostly because I like doing it, and it being good content is also a fun part of it. And being daily content, I've done almost 5 days a week on that channel of those style videos where they're like 10 to 12 minutes. But then, does it fit on a Bogetti Clips channel? Does this fit on the podcast channel then? Because it's not really, it's out of the ordinary. I don't know. Why am I even bothering you guys with this in the first 2 minutes of the episode? Pretty dumb, if you ask me. If you were to ask what's high engagement content, you'd be like, should 1320 change the name of their podcast because people are mad at them? Tune in at 11 to find out my opinion. No, I don't think they should. I think they should leave it. I think they should make it more similar to the other podcast. So if you didn't know the drama, they named their podcast, which is pretty awesome. Listen, the 1320 video podcast is Talking Shift. It's kind of a joke on talking shit. Like people do. They go and they talk shit. So they made theirs Talking Shift because shift is what you do in a race car. You shift to the next gear. So it's a little play on words, and they are getting accused of stealing a name from a popular podcast. I don't know. I don't really think so. Honestly, I think those two names are neither are so original that I would be like, wow, how could anybody you would have had to have heard the other name to think of that. But maybe that's not the claim they're making. Maybe the claim that they're making is whether it was a unique thought or not, it was too similar. I don't know. But I feel like I would leave it. And I feel like both can coexist in this world together happily ever after. But maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they'll just fight about it, and it could be a whole meme battle between the two. And everybody will just kiss and make up at the end. Probably not. Probably just a lifelong beef at that point. But I don't think it matters. What does it matter at all? I don't think the name of a podcast matters all that much. I think even like my podcast, I never really named it. Maybe that's why it's not at 1 million subscribers right now. Because I just called it the Cooper Bogetti Podcast. Because that was exactly what it was. I didn't want to call it anything racing or car related because I didn't want to put myself in a box. I didn't want to niche down so far that it was only car and racing related, because I like to talk about dumb things and things that I don't know anything about, and conspiracies, and I don't know. I mean, I had an animal expert on once. That to me sounds cool. I want to have a pilot on that was in Vietnam that I've been talking to on the podcast. But you can't do that if you're just a car podcast, so tried to keep it vague and make it whatever, But that's what I mean. I don't know where anything goes now. I haven't posted on my main page in a couple weeks, but that's fine. I get so many, I don't know if so many is the right word. In the last 2 years, I've diversified where views come from so heavily that channel isn't as important to me as it once was. When I first started creating content and making videos, that channel was like the bread and butter. But I learned quickly when, after a year of doing it, you do this wave of views up and down, and no matter how big of a channel or small of a channel you are, the waves are going to happen. And if you build a bigger boat, it can handle the waves better. But if you have a small boat, the waves are gonna hurt. So what I've done and how I like to think about it is, all of the streams of income are a wave of their own, and when you layer them on top of each other, the waves look flat. So you are not, dipping down. And there's always some dips, there's always some rises, and you hope that you can rise the baseline, but the goal is to never, have this dip and rise like happened and does happen to all creators. They all have it. It's not an uncommon thing. Maybe people don't talk about it, but some months suck. Some months the views are crazy. Some months you have crazy high views, but then the AdSense are down because, I don't know, maybe there's a international trade war going on and people are scared to advertise. I don't know. Just throwing that out there, and that might be a case that we run into here soon, because turns out international trade wars will probably damage consumer confidence and less people might buy. Just a thought that I've had. Just a thought I've been thinking about as somebody who relies heavily on advertisers taking piles of cash and dumping them onto platforms, whether that be Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, things like that. Instagram kind of sucks. Anybody who makes money off Instagram, I respect you, because that shit sucks. That platform is ass. It's 15 years old. Use the back end of TikTok and you're like, oh, this is modern. Or it's a decent back end platform on an app, and you feel like you're getting oh wow, this is good. And it's just it's just decent and good. It's not unbelievable, but the baseline has been set so low by Facebook and Instagram that you'll take anything and be like, wow, this is unbelievable good back end. And that's a bummer that it's that bad. But let me make sure that this is, I gotta make sure that this is recording just in case. But where was I going with that? Bad platforms, So I try to make sure that all the baseline is about, the same. So then when one platform's down, you hope the other platform's up and they keep themselves afloat. And also, I've been able to do that with pulling back on merch sales because I started to just get like, I don't even know. I started to look around at merch and just like, it was so tiresome. Everything was like the same. Every t-shirt was just like the same t-shirt with just like something different painted on it. And while that's not like inherently bad, it just started to get like, I was like, what are we doing here? You know? And I appreciate everybody that's ever bought my shirts. I really do. And I like my shirts. I wear them all the time. But it just started to feel like I was just on this, I don't even know, endless trail of just what's the next thing? What is the next cash grab? What's the next, what do I advertise for? Who's the next shitty product I'll advertise for? Who's the next, oh, do you sell something? Are you willing to pay me to tell people to buy this product? Well, I will happily advertise it. That is the criteria, is, do you have money? Okay, I will tell people to buy it. And I kind of hated doing that with my own shirts, even, because it's such like it's nothing unique. Even though it's unique, it's also just like a t-shirt. Like, I've been debating on just getting rid of all my shirts and just wearing a black t-shirt every single day. Just changing that, because it just feels like, I don't know. Maybe should I just get rid of them and wear navy blue and khaki shorts every single day? Part of me thinks that. Maybe green too. I like green. I like those green plant more trees shirts. Maybe that's a good idea. Just slide all, I think I have like 500 car shirts. Just slide them all over. Black shirt every day. Cargo short. Not khaki shorts. Keep it simple. No branding, no advertising, no this brand or that brand. I don't know. I got a World Cup shirt here. Import versus domestic, and it's already chipped off. You can't even read what it says. Kind of frustrating. It was like a brand new shirt. But do you guys feel like that? Do you guys feel like every shirt you buy is just exactly like the last shirt you bought? And once you have about, I don't know, 25 shirts, what more do you need? How like, I do laundry enough in this house where 25 shirts is probably plenty. I mean, I don't have that many shorts and everything else, so about 25 is about max. It's about my ceiling. So then everything after that is just gluttonous and a waste of my time and energy to, own and have and buy. I mean, I guess unless you're entering a giveaway. Does anybody else feel like it's useless? Anybody else feel like it's just like tiresome? Does it get old? Does the treadmill just stop at any point? I don't know. Maybe the tariffs will slow that down. Maybe it'll slow down boring merch at least. At least the boring stuff. Hopefully. I mean, I don't know where the shirts come from. I think Gilden come mostly from Colombia or Cuba, or no, not Cuba. I can't remember where Gilden come from. Let's see. Where are Gilden shirts made? Gilden yarn is often spun in the U.S. Interesting. Honduras and the Dominican Republic. Okay. Got it. So, they have factories in the Caribbean. Interesting. The U.S. and Bangladesh and Central America. Honduras and Dominican Republic. How's the Dominican Republic doing? You ever remember, like, you heard about the Dominican Republic and you hear, like, cannibalism is going on? Remember that in, like, 2023? Late 2023, there was, like, there's cannibalism in the Dominican Republic. And then you didn't hear about it again. It just stopped hearing about it, at least in America. Just just happens. It just, gone. I don't know. It might still be happening. I haven't kept up with it. I haven't checked on it. I don't know if that was real. That could have been one isolated incident, and suddenly it's a cannibalistic zombie apocalypse in the Dominican Republic. And now I get it. They haven't been doing very good for quite some time. I'm sure the Red Cross is heavily responsible for some of that. They've stolen much money that was supposed to help them after the earthquake that struck, and they did not get it in Haiti. Dominican Republic's not bad. It's Haiti, I guess, but they're part of the same island. I don't know. I'm not that good at geography. I'm decent, I think, but I've gotten some things wrong in my day. Especially when it comes to some European countries. Like, there's some European countries that not convinced are real. Like, you hear about them and you're like, I don't know. Like, I used to work with a guy from Kosovo. Not buying it. No shot, dude. Kosovo's not real. He was super patriotic too, which was very ironic because he had left his country to come work in America, but he felt like he had disdain for America, like he wasn't a fan. He was like there against his will working, but he really wanted to go back to Kosovo and lead a revolution. That was always the vibe I got from him. He was super proud of a Kosovo revolution they had at one point. And I don't know, he would tell me the history about it, and I'm like, I don't know, dude. All sounds made up. All these countries, I don't think any of them are really, I don't think anything's really happening there. We'd work with Irish guys, too. I was in a place where a lot of people would come over from overseas and spend the summer working. So there'd be a bunch of Irish guys, and then there'd be, random, other Europeaners, that were Kosovo, or where was the other one from? Czech Republic, were a bunch of them. Had to make sure you put the Republic on there, because if they were just Czech, that's different. So you had to make sure you had that on there, but you would have a lot of that. And they were an odd patriotic, like a Cold War feeling patriotic, they made it seem like the missiles were on the border kind of feel at all times. But I don't know. Let's not talk about history or Kosovo anymore. I don't even know. Let's see how do you spell Kosovo? Kosovo. The first thing that it says is landlocked country. Why do you gotta hit them like that? Why do you gotta hit Kosovo so hard? It's right next to Serbia and right above North Macedonia. You see, you probably have never heard of North Macedonia. Probably heard of Bulgaria, but you've probably also never heard of Montenegro, because these countries, they're not actually real. They're just some, I don't know, what are they, post-Soviet era stuff? Probably not. They're not quite that far. But they're just sorry. They're just I don't know, who's the leader of these places? Anyone? Probably not. Kosovo is weird. It doesn't even have a real border. If you look at it on a map, it's got a dotted line border between Serbia. What does the dotted line mean? Is that real? Is that a real border if it's just a dotted line? I feel like I need to know. It's the officially the Republic of Kosovo in Southeast Europe. Again, I don't know. Bordered with Albania. Is that what it says? Yeah, but I don't see Albania on this map. See? I'm not buying any of it. Oh yeah, there's Albania. Sorry. The capital of Albania is written at the same size as Albania, and it was actually covering it for some reason. But yeah, I don't know. Not buying it. But I have been selling a lot of my used car parts, and that brings up an odd question. How do you sell sponsored parts. Now, I don't have a whole lot of sponsored parts. I've gotten some things here and there throughout the years. But when the time comes to sell and part out a car, which I'm sure not all YouTubers do, but I decided I did not want a lot of the stuff that were on the 240, and I could be more profitable and I could make better use of the money that was sitting tied up in a car besides just parts that were getting older and older. So I decided to sell some parts some of them were supplied to me, a bunch of them I bought, some of them I bought, at cost or at a discount. I like to buy parts at cost a lot of the time, because if you buy something at cost, the person that sold it can't be too upset. No matter what happens in the end of the day, they didn't actually lose money. If it was just their cost and, you did some advertising, you did some posting about it, you tried to bump sales. I know a lot of that stuff doesn't actually work, especially when it's like really niche stuff. Like if it's like a throttle cable bracket for a 2001 Prius with a 240 with an LS swap and a Mustang gas pedal, but you have this part, I'm the only one that makes it. Like, yeah, you're not going to probably sell many by having that YouTuber advertise it, but maybe you will. Maybe it'll work out because that video is so niche that anybody doing that swap sees it, and then they're like, oh, actually, that's the part I needed for my Prius swapped LS with a Mustang gas pedal. I think that was what I portrayed there. But maybe. But it seems rare, especially if it's somebody with like a big platform, because the people with the big platform say they get, 80,000 views per video. If it's the same 80,000 views on that video, the chances of them, the circle diagram, Venn diagram overlapping of people watching and people, wanting to do that swap might be very few. But if you give it to somebody who's building a vehicle specifically for that content, like they're building that Subaru 22 Subaru, for instance, those people watching probably have that car and are actually like watching to see and wanting to do those mods. So sometimes it makes sense in that aspect, but that's where some media training and being a little more media, being a little more media savvy could help a lot of these brands a lot, because a lot of these people are just spraying parts to the wrong people and then that, puts it in front of the wrong audience, when there's different ways they could kind of throw them out there. And some people just make stuff that's so niche that they're like, hey, I can't give you this part because there's 12 people doing this swap and you're one of them, and I really relied on you spending that $80 so that I could, recoup the investment from building this swap. Speaking of swaps, today I went down the rabbit hole of a 996 Porsche, and I saw a video. It wasn't, I think Tony Angelo did this one, right? I think he did an LS swap in his, but it wasn't his. But I saw a different video, and it was actually Gas Monkey's video. I saw a short of it talking about LS swapping a 996, and I was like, damn, that's actually really cool. And especially now, I mean, when they did it, the 996s were still kind of pricey, but now I feel like 996s have come down so much in price that it's like, it's such a solid LS swap, I feel like. You can get a really clean 996 on Facebook Marketplace for, I don't know, 19 grand, 18 grand running driving. So that means then you can drop the drivetrain out, sell it, just the motor, and get get some money back. So say you have 19 grand to a 996, say you sell the motor for 5 grand, kind of nice. Kind of a nice little bump, Like, let's see. I'm on Facebook Marketplace. We're here now live on the marketplace. Let's see what let's see like a really decent one. Like a real mid decent 996. I'm seeing a lot more expensive. Here we go. Okay. Is this one crashed or something? 18 grand for this one right here. Insanely fun car for the money. Has almost as much in modifications as I'm asking. It is the middle of an engine. It is in the middle of an engine service and we'll be back together shortly. The motor and transmission have approximately 75,000 miles on it. 6-speed manual gearbox. That's what you'd want. Actually, this says I have a 6-speed manual gearbox if you want to do the swap. Interesting. So it's not in the car. It is on his shop floor, presumably. But that is 18 grand. And the motor just came out of service. Pretty cool. So I believe the 996s are the ones where they're rear engine, so they're way easier to put an LS in compared to like a mid-engine car that is extremely difficult. But the 996s, you can also put a K-Series in fairly easily too. But, you know, not quite as cool as putting a big old V8, aluminum V8 in that thing. Yeah, I mean, 19 grand seems to get you a pretty decent 996. And they're, I mean, I hate to say it, but all Porsches have that same look to them. Porsches. They have that same look. I mean, I think these are the ones that they call the cracked egg headlights. So it's not quite as beautiful, but you could probably have a fun car for that price. And I was thinking about it because I already have an LS. I already have an engine harness. I got an ECU. I got all the accessories. I got a bunch of different oil pans. But that is probably not all that I need. Probably need way more. This is how this rabbit hole goes. I did the same thing with the 240. I was like, well, I got a transmission. I got an engine. I got a wiring harness and an ECU. Like, let me do this. Let me just put this together. I ended up buying a different transmission, a different clutch. I had a clutch. I bought a different one. I ended up buying... What else did I bought a ton of things. Basically, having the engine was the cheapest part of the whole thing. Because engines are fairly cheap. I was actually just looking at the engine. So I parted out the 240 and I'm trying to sell everything. But the engine that was in it is the 5.7 that was in my Camaro for a little while. Went 9s in the Camaro, like a low 960 with the same supercharger that's on the Mustang chip. And I imagine that's because the Mustang's on same engine and same blower and transmission, just a different long block. And I imagine that's for a few reasons. Most chips been not 1020 or 1030, and the Camaro went 960. So I think a lot of that is because the 5.7 is a race motor. It's lighter, higher compression. It was on E85 at the time, and it was probably tuned a little spicier. So that is part of why I think it went faster, but I also think the E85 was part of it, probably a strong part of it. But I think that engine's got a little bit more kick to her. So I was thinking of swapping that engine into Chip to give Chip the little more kick that it kind of deserves, you know? It kind of earned a little more kick, if you will. I like saying kick like that, you know, like Chip's got that kick. Unfortunately, every time I take Chip out and try to go to this list race, it just shits the bed on me. Every single time. Same problem. I have not fixed it. I thought I fixed it the other day. I cleaned the fuel filters out. I thought it was good. I thought I fixed it. And I went on and I was driving down the road. I was on my way to test and tune for the list race. And I went and got on it, and about 4,000 RPM, it starts to break up. Starts to, like, fuel pressure starts to drop. Just every time. So, limped it back home, parked it up, and I missed that list race. I thought it was a fuel filter thing. I changed the fuel filters, and I thought I got it. Well, I changed the pre-pump filter. It was super dirty. And then I hadn't checked the post-pump filter, but then I went and drove it, and I thought I fixed it. Turns out, didn't fix it. But that's probably more of a my fault issue. Well, 100% my fault. No one else to blame on that one than me. But unfortunately, maybe this week, this Thursday, maybe I will actually get to go list racing. I think they finally got Cameron out with the Pro Mod. I think they finally just booted him. So maybe that's a good sign for me. I don't know. But the Camaro's got the engine out, which is fine because it's a very hot April. It's about to be May, and it feels like peak summer out here. Like, it is cooking. It felt like 108 today. Had to have been 100 plus. My grass is struggling. We're about to be in rainy season. There's races all over the country, but with CJ being like 1.5, Bronte's got some stuff going on right now that we'll talk about at a later date. I have not wanted to or been able to do a whole lot of traveling, which is fine because I really haven't wanted to. I mean, CJ's only going to be this old for a little while, so I'm trying to take it all in with him. I don't want to spend my weekdays wrenching on a car. And then my weekend's completely gone from him. Not at this age, you know. Such a cool age. Such a fun age. I want to be present for him. And then hopefully when he's a little older, me and him can go do the racing together. That would be the goal. So that, and then, you know, Bronte's got some stuff going on. We'll talk about that one soon. Pretty cool stuff, I will say. That's definitely hampered a little bit of plans, I would say, but definitely plan to get back to it more, and hopefully, fingers crossed for your boy here, that the engine at Induction Performance is not turned from a motor into a display of failure, because it could be. I haven't heard. Maybe tomorrow they'll let me know what the motor's looking like. Victor hasn't told me yet, but it could just be shattered. Like, the motor, you could look at it and be like, wow, this is a well-machined pile of flaming dog shit now. It is as useful as, I don't know, a rock that you found in the yard. That is what we could be experiencing come Monday morning here. That I get a phone call that says, hey, your block is garbage. It's a possibility. Victor even said, I don't know why he put this out there, but he was like, that block may just be cracked. And I'm like, Victor, don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. That's rude to do, right? You know? Rude. I wouldn't go up to his Pro Mod and be like, hey, that block's probably cracked. Mostly because it's probably a $60,000 motor. Mine's like a, you know, $2,000 motor plus all the machine work. But, you know, I wouldn't do that to him. Why would he do that to me? Doesn't seem right. Anybody else worried about what's going to happen with tariffs? Anybody else pay attention to this? I feel like something's going to pop here soon. Like, something's going to come crashing down. Am I going to be able to get my AC air filters from Walmart that probably come from China for $8, or am I gonna have to spend like $80? What is gonna happen here? I called it a tax the other day. I know I'm going into mixed topics here, but tariffs get me fired up because I called it a tax the other day in one of my videos, and somebody corrected me. Thank God they corrected me. They said it's not a tax, which is crazy to hear because by definition, it is a tax. And, whether we pay it or not, it is a tax. And I'm a little worried because if every little nut and bolt and every little, thing that I buy, I don't know, like this SD card here in my hand, if that doubles in price, that's going to suck. A lot of people buy these. If these t-shirts go up in price, it's going to suck. If, I need to get a haircut, and if the, razors go up in price, it's going to hurt. What if, car parts go up in price? I need my Chinese AN fittings. I need my Chinese race car parts. They're going to try to take these away from me. I don't know. I'm definitely slightly concerned because, as much as there's a lot of things that is nice to be made here, there's a lot of things that we buy that I don't think anyone cares where they're made. Like I said, my AC filter, I'm only saying that because I forgot to go get a new one today. I don't care where that's made. I genuinely don't. I don't. I do not care where that is made. Or the one in my car, the cabin air filter. I don't care where that comes from. If it comes from Mexico, if it comes from Bangladesh, I don't care. There's a lot of things like that. Even like my motor oil. Is it good? Yes, that's all I need. Does anybody else feel like that? Yeah, there's some parts cool, like race car parts, cool when they're made in America. That's cool. But that's kind of the extent of my thoughts is it's really cool. I mean, the efficient factories don't really have a whole lot of people working there. It's not like we're looking at Ford Model T assembly lines where there's 85 people on an assembly line assembling these cars. These efficient factories are as minimal people as possible. The goal is to work 24/7 in the dark with a robot hand that just boop, boop, boop. Even look at Motion Raceworks. They have this robot named Gary that does all this cool stuff. And they're going to get more of them. Who cares where that's made? Personally, what if that Gary could be working in China? Gary could be working in Indiana. I think that's a place in Indiana. That's why I said that. Yeah, I don't know. It's American electricity, I guess, powering it. Probably, with some coal that comes from Canada, maybe, depending on where you're at. I don't know I think Florida, a lot of it is coal, natural gas, electricity. I think natural gas is our local one. I don't remember. Probably natural gas. I should probably know. Is it important to know where your electricity comes from? It's like knowing your farmer. It's yeah, I know the guy, those old McDonald's commercials where, was it McDonald's? No, it was Folgers no, I think it was McDonald's where they showed the guy they both probably did this. Maybe they're just playing to my emotions. Is all marketing just playing to... Oh, shit. Did I just come to the revelation that all marketing is just playing to my emotions and they are using farmers of differing backgrounds to do that? They know that my emotional state when I see a farmer in a field picking potatoes, I get a deep connection to them from my Irish roots. Then immediately I'm dang, that's a nice spud. Interesting. But they all did this where they showed a farmer doing it. And am I supposed to know my power company like that? Am I supposed to be on such an intimate level that I can tell you which main the natural gas comes from for the Peace River Electric Company? Yeah, that's from the Jackson Fault Main, whatever they call it. I don't know. They're probably named something, right? Where does Peace River get its electricity? I think they buy it from FPL. River get its electricity? I feel like they buy it from FPL, but I guess not. They serve more than 60,000 homes. Yeah. Peace River does not generate electricity. We purchase electricity wholesale from Seminole Electric Cooperative. Interesting. Is that the Seminole Indians, I wonder? Probably. It's got to be, right? Dang, am I paying dividends? Seminole Electric Corp. Where do they make it? What an interesting turn of events. Where do they get it? Facilities. Solar. They got like a solar drop down, but I bet that's probably a small margin of how much they make. Okay, so they got a couple of things here. Oh, they got a bunch of stuff. Oh, they got a bunch of solar. It looks like they got about 3 plants that are pretty big, but none of them look like they're near here. I don't know. This may be something to dig into on a different time. But the Seminole Indians, I don't know if you know about the Seminole tribe in Florida. So they're like Central Florida located. And Peter, what's his name? I need to shout him out because his videos are pretty top tier. Peter Santanelo just did a video on them the other day. And I guess he had to take it down. But if you saw it, you saw it. It was pretty good. Where he met up with a Seminole native and he like followed this woman around for the day, and she showed him, he didn't like, hide behind a bush and follow her around. He like met up with her and followed her for the day, and she showed him some of what the Seminoles are doing, some of how they make their money, the hard rocks that they own. Yes, they own all the hard rocks across the country, and they were just kind of showing them all this and all these cool things, and then it did get taken down. I can't remember what his reason was, but they took the video down, and oh, here it is. Seminole tribe who invited me there to make the video. I asked my audience if they had any Seminole connections. Unfortunately, the video caused some issues that I don't fully understand. I was under the impression that if I got clearance and was making a video with the tribal official, then I was all good. It became clear around Tuesday last week that the video was causing problems, so the best move was to take it down. I didn't want to take it down since I thought it was a great video, but sometimes you have to do what's best for the people involved. I never want to cause harm. So he did a documentary following around the Seminole, and one of the things that they said, which I found crazy, was all the Seminoles, if you are part of the tribe, if you have enough blood, like enough, you can trace your heritage enough, there's like a place where they all live on the reservation, but it's also a very large like housing development in Florida where they have like all the Seminoles there, and you have to be Seminole to live there. But moral of the story is they get $10,000 a month each, everyone in the tribe. Just here you go, right to your bank account, direct deposit, 10 grand each, just for being a Seminole, because they have spent so much time building up this, basically it's just a corporation that oversees a lot of things, and I'm sure they get some nice tax breaks, and they're basically the only people in Florida that can really gamble on their casinos, so they kind of have that going for them. They got the tobacco and some alcohol stuff, then they had like some fuel stuff, and I think they even have this Seminole Electric Cooperative and a couple other things, but the Seminoles are baller. They are balling deep. And one of the things that I immediately thought was like, well, how is this going to keep going? I mean, they're eventually going to whittle their bloodline down, right? Or is it a growing, but like, how do you manage this? They get health care. It's a very interesting thing because no one person in the Seminole tribe owns these things. It's a collective, and they just divvy the money. Pretty crazy. I did not know this. I mean, I think he said it's Googleable. How much do Seminoles make a month? Seminoles, Indians. Hopefully this doesn't, come off as racist. I would hate to get canceled over some Native American stuff. This says is it wrong to call them Indians? This says they make about $128,000 a year. Pretty live action. The Seminole Tribe of Florida distributes bi-weekly dividend payments to its members, totaling approximately $128,000 a year, just to be part of it. And the way that they sounded in the video, unfortunately you can't hear it, is like they do the dividends thing, but then there's also like the collective is working to grow what they do. So like they're constantly expanding operations, building a new Hard Rock, renting this out, selling that, building this up. So they're just kind of cranking it out. And it seems like there's going to be less and less of them just based off of the numbers that seem to be given and the dilution of bloodlines. Even the one woman who he was following said that, she gets health care and her daughter gets health care only until 18, because then she comes out of this like she's not a dependent anymore and she doesn't have enough bloodline to maintain it because she's like outbred, I guess you could say. Not inbred, but outbred. And eventually somebody's just going to have to take over, right? Does it just fall into, like, as the tribe gets smaller, is it just like, well, now you get $20,000 a month. Congrats. Tribe cut in half. I don't know. Maybe it's not worth thinking about, but it is very interesting. It's very interesting. I was thinking because I don't know if you guys have seen much of my videos that I make on my Clips channel, but I've had a lot of fun with that channel. I actually should change the name of it to just Bogetti sauce or something. I don't know. But I've been posting a bunch of videos where you could say they're slightly controversial at times. You guys know me. I don't shy away from a controversial topic. I'm not afraid to you could say burn a bridge. I mean, I'm not really like in the business of just burning bridges or even potential bridges that aren't even there. But sometimes some things are worth talking about, whether it's like they're not getting huge views for the most part. I mean, some of them do, some of them don't. They're not like crushing it so much that it's worth burning a bridge. But to me, it is worth it to speak my mind and my feelings, even if some people are gonna get hurt by it. I mean, not really hurt by it, but say somebody did something scammy or scummy and I talk about it, they did the thing and I just highlighted it. And sometimes that could be a negative situation for my my brand and channel moving forward, because sometimes people that are very notable, tend to be scammers and shills and grifters, and they're just trying to get the next bunch of money so they can move on to the next thing to get a bunch of money. And that kind of stuff feels like it needs to be called out. I don't do it as much as I probably should, probably bite my tongue too much, but it's something I think about. It's like, man, all of the people that would be, not all of them, but like, there's people that would be good guests on my podcast, but if they're a grifter or they do shit work or they're a shill or they're, you name it, scammer, how do I in good faith do this? And now I've had this debate even on another show with someone else, I think. How do you manage that and actually feel okay after and not too dirty? How do you not feel too dirty after, hosting a grifter or platforming one? And it's not like, I'm sure there's plenty of scammers that have far bigger platforms than me. I know there is. So it's like, okay, well, I'm not like giving you this huge platform, but as long as you don't do just like a positive PR campaign for them when they're on the show, maybe that helps. Like, don't bring them on the show and start, softball questions that they could just hit out of the park and make themselves seem like a all-star. You might as well not do it. But then at the same time, if you do, if you sit one-on-one in a small room with someone for 2 hours, it's not easy to just like start tearing them apart, because, who wants to do that? That doesn't sound fun. I don't want to be in an interrogation. I don't want a hostile podcast. I don't want a podcast by like a hostility undertone on an episode. That sounds horrible. And there's some people, it's like, how do you not get frustrated by some things that you've seen? At least I do. But the internet's quick to forget. I know a lot of people say the internet's forever, but they're also really quick to forget things. And like, yeah, you can search it, but like, if it's not in someone's mind, it doesn't matter if it's on the internet. They'll just forget. They'll just move on. You can scam people, but as long as you like keep making content, you'll move on eventually. Everyone will forget about it. I think that's what people don't realize. A lot of these people, they scam someone, and then like it all comes out and it unfolds, and they like fall into that being their whole personality of like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, and you like bask in it too much. But the real scammers, the ones that are pros, are they just plow through to the next one, to the next thing, out here living life, boom, 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 ain't worried. Those are the real scammers. And that's the real way to do it. You just keep bombing through life. Don't even look back. People back there lost some money. Sorry. Don't join the next one, nerd. Those are the scammers. But that's it. I did want to talk about Yellow Belly and people getting hurt, and then people attacking Yellow Belly. My boy Jimmy Dale, he did a race at Yellow Belly. What did they call it? Gangsters Cup was the big race, but they called it Rags to Riches, maybe? I can't remember what they called it, but it looked like a pretty good race. I know Jimmy said it was a little tough. They had some oil downs that were a little slower. The rounds were moving a little slower than they wanted. This Pro Mod Studebaker came out there and just whomped on everyone. Even my boy Charlie Brown just drove out on him. I'm pretty sure. Was it Charlie Brown race? Or was that? But, yeah, even just tough in general, But it looked like a pretty good race, and then unfortunately, just a freak accident. A drive shaft explodes and hits a kid in the eye, and he loses vision, I guess, in one eye. Super big bummer. Just a freak accident. I mean, who's gonna expect that? Like, it came through the fence. He wasn't even on the starting line. It just, like, such a crazy case scenario that it just bombed through a fence and just right into this kid's eye. It just sucks to see. You hate to see that kind of stuff happen. Hate to see that happen to Jimmy. I was really happy to see his event otherwise seemed pretty good, like the turnout and stuff. I know I heard some other people kind of complaining about the safety of the track, but they know what they're getting into, right? I mean, nobody shows up at Yellow Belly and expects BMP. You know what you're getting into. You know that what their equipment is. You know what their ability to clean up a track is. You know what the bumps are like. And to show up there and expect BMP seems a little silly. I don't know. But that's probably about it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like, follow, subscribe, and I will see you next time.